Good evening and welcome to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting for the City of Hendersonville. It's approximately 7 p.m. We're going to begin this meeting as we typically do, and that's with a prayer and a pledge. Tonight, providing our opening prayer is Nick Rayfield. He is a minister of Luna Lane Church of Christ and very much a standout football player years and years ago, and very much heavily involved in Hendersonville for many, many decades. So we appreciate Nick being here again. He's with Luna Lane Church of Christ, and he's going to lead us in prayer. After that, I'd like you to join me with the pledge. Go ahead, Nick.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, city staff, citizens of Hendersonville. We bring you greetings from the Luna Lane Church of Christ. As a 60-year resident of Hendersonville, I am very honored to be able to pray over our city at an occasion such as this for my hometown. Would you pray with me, please? Dear Heavenly Father, Creator of the universe and the earth on which we live, we praise your glorious name and your awesome handiworks. Lord, we consider this a prayer of thanksgiving for the wonderful place we call home. Our flowing waters are teeming with fish and waterfowl. Our lush and fertile lands are populated with squirrels and deer and all sorts of wildlife. Our land is stitched together with magnificent trees, bushes, and flowers. You have indeed provided us with a beautiful and peaceful place to call our home. Dear God, we are grateful to our city leaders, past and present, who have come together to enhance our community life. We are mindful of men and women, such as the late Judge Curtis Lincoln, who have served our city well. To the land you have given us, we have added roads, churches, schools, healthcare facilities, public utilities, a library, beautiful parks, and so many other enhancements. Tonight, as our city fathers come in session, I ask you to provide them with the wisdom and compassion to lead us forward even to better days. I pray each vote will be carefully contemplated for the good of all and not just a few. Lord, please provide our city leaders with a measure of health and sound mind so that we might all benefit from these proceedings. We realize your Holy Bible establishes governance as a way to bring about order in our community. We are especially grateful for the police, firefighters, and first responders who work so tirelessly to protect us. And Lord, tonight we also come to you on behalf of the Campbell family. Bruce Campbell, who has been missing in Wyoming, has a cousin here in Hendersonville by the name of Doug. And we pray that the story will end happily and that they will find him safe and unharmed. But we know he's been missing since the 19th, and so we all lift up our prayers for this family. Now we come to you with all these blessings and favors in the name of Jesus, your Son, and our Savior. Amen.
Again, y'all, that was Nick Rayfield. He is the minister of Luna Lane Church of Christ, and we appreciate very much what you do and what your church does for us. We appreciate you being here. If I could now have Troop 75 and Pack 33 come up here and face everybody out there. I had the opportunity to give some of these folks a tour a little while ago, and I met with some of the other ones a couple weeks ago, and I've asked them to come and lead us in the pledge. And then y'all hang out right here in case your parents want to get a picture. You guys lead us. Thank you guys. Again, that was Troop 75 and Pack 33. Does anybody want pictures while we have a chance? Yeah. Let's do that. It's gonna be just a second. We're supposed to have to move outside. We're gonna have all the players line up right here. We'll do the guys and the girls, both teams. Brad, if y'all could sort of screw up here, then we'll put the girls team down there. And then I need your help. You can see that too. No. So ladies, we're gonna have y'all stand up here, we're gonna do the proclamation together, switch one in. And Steve, I need you. If I fall back, y'all catch me, right? Okay. Come here, Ben. You wanna come around here? Perfect. What was that? Yeah, y'all hang out here for just a second. So the reason we have guest pastors come in is because they provide better prayers than I do, and the reason we have a city attorney is to make sure that we do things we're supposed to do. We forgot to accept an agenda. More specifically, Annette reminded me that I forgot to ask to accept the agenda. So I'm going to introduce a motion to accept the agenda that was provided to you in the packet that you received over the weekend. We have a motion from Alderman Collins and a second from Alderman Garza. Any discussion on that? All in favor of accepting the agenda that you were provided, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. Thank you. Annette, will you go ahead and call the roll? You're good.
Collins,
Here.
Dixon,
Here.
Garten,
Here.
Garza,
Here.
Goodwin,
Here.
Martin,
Here.
Peterson,
Here.
Robertson, Sassy,
Here.
Skidmore,
Here.
Waters,
Here.
Clary.
Here.
11.
We got 11. Okay, so you'll figure out 2/3 from me, right? Sorry about that. So I want to tell you all about these teams. We have Tennessee United. We have Tennessee United 2008 boys team over here, and then we have Tennessee United 2011 girls team. I'm going to read part of this that covers everybody, and then I'm going to split up a little bit here. Whereas the Tennessee United Soccer Club, or TUSC, was formed in 2004 as a merger of Middle Tennessee Football Club, Quest, and the Hendersonville Soccer Club, Fever, And it focuses on player development, facilities competition, and opportunities to play at the highest level. And whereas Xavier Bergman, Jonathan Campos Morales, Caleb Colts, John Dubin, Davin Eckenroth, Ryan Heisel, Kobe Hitchcock, Andres Jamilo Sandoval, Brock Jones, Barnett Kodka, Braden Leftrick, Caleb Nosero, Caleb Parks, Srizan Shritha, Lane Searcy, Gillian Stakelbeck, and Holden Worthen make up the 2008 boys team led by Coach Ben Walker and managed by Travis Jones. Is Travis here? Because that's an awful lot of responsibility. I mean, okay. So being the team manager, yeah, you deserve to have your own picture with them. And so let me read the girls' names: Jubilee Davis, Maya Dumick, Emma Edwards, Kayla Johnson, Harlow Jones, McKenna Markham, Brooklyn McKenzie, Olivia Pierre, Kenley Reeder, Ashley Roden, Elizabeth Tinker, Desi Walker, and Emma West make up the 2011 girls team led by Coach Stephen Williams. He's right over here. And managed by Tara Pear. Okay, where's Tara? Okay, super. Appreciate y'all being here. And I'm going to continue here. Whereas the 2008 boys team competed in the 2022 state championship tournament held in Murfreesboro on November 13th, where they won Division III State Cup. Whereas the 2011 girls team competed at 2022 state championship held in Murfreesboro, where they won Division I State Cup. Now, therefore, I, Jamie Clary, Mayor of the City of Hendersonville, Tennessee, do encourage all citizens to join me in congratulating the Tennessee United Soccer Club's 2011 girls team on the recent Division I win and the Tennessee United Soccer Club's 2008 boys team on the recent Division III win. Now, in case y'all didn't know, I still play soccer and I never won a club state championship. So I think y'all are just amazing for what y'all do. So thank y'all. You guys want to say anything? You want to say it? Okay. So, so if y'all want to do pictures, now's the time. We'll wait.
But Beverly's the vice president, Larry.
My brother was there. My two kids up here early this morning. For 2 days. Before I have to eat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very.
Got our boys being there.
To see that. You know, they clean the glasses. Said, well, you didn't need glasses. That's they gave them antibodies. Yes, sir.
We got awards for the
Awards for the
parade.
parade.
We're trying.
You might get it. We need a script.
Yeah, you're right. You need to screw up. We really don't know.
So we failed to have on the agenda a presentation from Holiday Fest. So I need to entertain a motion to amend the agenda, which takes a 2/3 vote. Congratulations. We have a motion from Alderman Waters and a second from Alderman Sassy. Any discussion on amending the agenda for a presentation from Holiday Fest? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. You're up.
Thank you, Mayor and Alderman. We did the parade this year, and it's our 18th year to do it, Holiday Fest. And we had some winners. And our first category was performance, and the first place goes to Bryson McCarley State Farm. So if he'll come up, we'll give him his award. And second place is the Hendersonville High School Band of Gold. Is anybody here from the Band of Gold? Okay. The second category was a nonprofit category, and the first place winner was Women Supporting Women in Middle Tennessee. Do we have anybody here from that? Oh, here we go. All right, come over here and we'll take your picture. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the second place is Girl Scout Troop 3325. Is somebody here with that? Wonderful. Come on up here, honey. Nervous. Yeah.
Thank you.
Then in the business category, we had first place Parks Lakeside. Is anybody from Parks Lakeside here?
Cool.
Thank you.
wish I had the.
You wish you had one.
Thanks.
And second place is Kimbrough Air. Do we have anybody here from Kimbrough Air? Okay. We want to thank everybody for the participation. We want to thank the police department, the fire department, and the parks department for helping us every year to do this parade for the city. And we've followed it over the last 3 years with the tree lighting. And I think we'll continue to do that. And thank you again for everything.
Well, Linda, thank you for it. Holiday Fest. We appreciate it. We appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you. We have no public hearings. I'm going to entertain a motion that we approve the minutes from January 10th, 2023. We have a motion from Alderman Waters and a second from Alderman Goodwin. Okay. Any discussion on the, all in favor of approving the minutes as they were provided to you in your packet, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have citizen comments. We have nobody that signed up for citizen comments. And then we have our consent agenda. We have one item on there. That's to receive and file our annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year 2022. So Ken, do I just need to introduce you and you take it from there? Sure. Okay, so Ken, Ken, you want to tell us who you are and who's with you? And then he's going to give us a presentation about our annual comprehensive audit. So go ahead.
Great. Thank you, Mayor and Alderman. My name's Ken Youngstead. I'm with Kraft CPAs. Appreciate being behind all those wonderful presentations. We're available for pictures afterwards as well. But, only kidding, only kidding. But we are pleased to give a positive report to you all today and go over 2 documents. I'm going to cover a report to the Mayor and Board of Aldermen on the results of the audit, and Julie will give a few highlights. Julie Evans is a senior manager with our firm and has been involved with your audit for a good period of time, and Julie will go over a couple of observations in the audit as well. So in this document that I believe was just handed out maybe just before this meeting, a few required communications. We have an engagement letter that outlines our responsibilities as auditors and the city's responsibilities, and it's actually a contract with the state of Tennessee as well. So a three-way contract between our organizations to conduct the audit. In terms of accounting policies and practices, there was one new standard that applies to the city. It did not have a material impact, but there's a new standard from the GASB related to leases. You all don't have significant long-term leases, and so again, no big financial statement impact, but it was a new standard that we technically applied. Didn't have anything else new that we need to bring to your attention. In terms of significant or unusual items, we didn't have anything that we ran across this year where there's a lack of authoritative guidance or something like that. We'll talk in a moment about estimates and adjustments. We didn't have any, well, we had one uncorrected misstatement that really was a carryover from the prior year. No new items for this year where there might have been an observation where we didn't actually record an entry for one reason or another, but there was just one minor item that reversed last year into this year. That wasn't significant. But otherwise, we had a great experience with your team, as we usually do, the finance department and others who were involved in gathering documents for the audit process. So we had a really good experience. So happy to report that to you. So no significant issues or difficulties that we need to bring to your attention. In terms of estimates, the most significant estimates in your financial statements are depreciation of long-lived assets. You all have a pension plan with TCRS, and those pension plans involve discount rates and actuarial assumptions where your pension asset or liability is something that's an estimate each year. Same thing with post-employment benefits, also another estimate. So those are the three most significant estimates in your financials. This does have a schedule of audit adjustments that we made to original trial balances that we had received. I'm looking at page 4 of that schedule. I will tell you that these were all really routine and not things that were new or significant. We worked with Robert on on these as we went through the audit process. We would say that things are clean. I think from a governance standpoint, you should feel good about the city's books and records in terms of our audit process and the readiness and adjustments that we had. So, and then finally, this has an attachment to it that is the representation letter that the city signed at the conclusion of the audit. We issued the audit in December 22nd. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Julie to just give a couple of highlights on the audit report itself, which is this document, the bound document that you probably have at your places. So, Julie?
Okay. Well, I'm just going to be very brief, high level. There are 3 reports included as part of these financial statements that run about 110 pages. The first one is a report that says that your financial statements are fairly stated in accordance with government auditing standards and under GAAP. There is a statement towards the back that has to do with what's referred to as Yellow Book compliance, which is government auditing standards. And so if we had anything related to internal control matters or any other compliance issues, that would be included as part of that. We don't have anything included to report to you all in that report. And then we also have a report that is on your major federal award programs. So because you all receive over $750,000 in federal awards, there is a specific audit over those programs. And so we looked at your ARPA funding for the current year was the program that we tested this year, and don't have anything that we feel we need to report to you all. One thing we did point out to the Finance Committee, and I know it's frequently been a question of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, relates to your fund balance. Happy to say that your fund balance has continued to increase significantly over the last couple of years. At the end of 2020, your general fund's unassigned fund balance was about $20 million, which covers a little over 5 months worth of expenses on your budget of about $43 million. So that's up from about $11 million last year unassigned and $4 million 2 years ago. So over the course of the last 3 years, your fund balance has increased significantly. I know that's something you all are paying attention to, so just wanted to point that out. But as far as anything else goes, I don't have anything that I was specifically going to cover unless you all have questions about anything.
Anybody have questions for Julie or Ken? Sure. Okay. There we go.
Thank you again for being here tonight and going through this with our Finance Committee. And I just want to point out that this is the second year in a row we've had no findings for this audit, and I think that's absolutely wonderful. Happy about our general fund being in the shape that it's in. I think it was 3 years ago we had 3 findings. So this is wonderful, and the general fund was one of those. So happy with that, and thank you again.
Any other questions or comments? So Jesse and I have talked about this, and we feel like the board needs to acknowledge that, and the way we've termed that is receive and file. So I need a motion to receive and file this. Okay, we have a motion from Alderman Waters and a second from Alderman Dixon. Any discussion on that? All in favor of receiving and filing the annual comprehensive financial report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
We'll see you in about 10 and a half months.
That sounds about right. We appreciate the opportunity
Okay.
to work with you all.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Next, we have first reading of ordinance 2023-01. This is an ordinance to establish an updated occupational safety and health program plan, devise rules and regulations, and to provide for a safety director and the implementation of such program plan. We have a motion from Alderman Waters and a second from Alderman Garza. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving first reading of ordinance 2023-01, please say aye. Those opposed say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we have first reading of ordinance 2023-02. This is an ordinance establishing a special committee to study the issue of street lighting in the city. We have a motion from Alderman Peterson and a second from Alderman Sassy. Any discussion? All those in favor of first reading of ordinance 2023-2, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we have reading of resolution 2023-01. This is a resolution authorizing the handmade market to renew its use of the grounds of City Hall for its market activities. We have a motion from Alderman Waters and a second from Alderman Dixon. Any discussion? All those in favor of resolution 2023-01, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we have a vote on the appointment of Andrew Kazmarek to the beer board. Need a motion? We have a motion from Alderman Dixon and a second from Alderman Collins. Any discussion? All in favor of appointing Andrew Kazmarek to the beer board, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we have the election of Ward 1 Alderman. What I'm going to do is the same thing that I did a couple weeks ago. We had a similar situation. Since we have had 3 people file an application that have proven to be qualified for the position, I'm going to nominate all 3 of those. Those are Robert Cox, who's here, and that is Eric Jackson, who's here, and that is... Are we looking at Mark Bergdorf? And Mark Bergdorf who's here. So I'm going to nominate all 3 of those. And under Robert's Rules of Order, it doesn't require a second to nominate somebody for those positions. I'm also going to suggest, and it's up to y'all, that we give all 3 of them 5 minutes to speak, and then we have the opportunity for discussion afterward. Any objection to that? I think that's the same way we handled it a couple weeks ago and the same way we've handled it for multiple times that we had to do this. So having gone in alphabetical order a couple weeks ago, we're going to go Mark, we're going to go Robert, and then we'll go Eric. You have no obligation to speak, but I'm going to give you a chance to speak for about 5 minutes. So Mark, you're up. So Robert and Eric, you get a couple extra minutes to prepare while Mark comes up here and stuff.
Good evening, everybody. I have recently learned I'm not a very good orator, so I'll just do my best to stick to the script, okay? With your permission. Good evening. My name is Mark Bergdorf, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to submit my application for appointment as Ward 1 Alderman. I've been a longtime resident of Hendersonville. My mom and dad moved here in 1974. I'm proud to call Hendersonville my hometown, and I'm ready to serve her. I've raised my family here in Hendersonville, Ward 1 specifically. My boys and I have hiked, biked, and walked all the neighborhood streets over the past 26 years. It's a safe, friendly neighborhood, and I wish to keep it so. My oldest son would sit in the bike seat as I rode around the neighborhood, up and down Cumberland Shores, Connie, Shivel, Lakeside Park Drive, and throughout the peninsula. As I rode, he would drift off to sleep, eventually leaning his helmeted head against my back, and that's when I knew I could head home and put him to bed. Repeating this habit with each of the consecutive kids was the best part of my day. Raising 4 boys in a 3-bedroom brick ranch meant As they grew, we all needed more space. My wife and I had the opportunity to sell and buy a new home, but we opted to stay in the neighborhood. We moved just half a mile away and 300 feet as the crow flies, because we love our neighbors and our neighborhood. With nearly all the boys out on their own, and I have 2 granddaughters so far, I now have the opportunity to return the kindness to my community and protect her for future Bergdorfs, Martins, Petersons, Skidmores, Dixons. You all have a copy of my application and a short bio I submitted a couple of weeks ago. In it, you'll note I have the executive experience and professional experience required to serve my community as an alderman. I also have demonstrated the ability to work with metro governments as well as nonprofits to serve my clients, some of these being veterans and veteran organizations, in order to keep them independent as long as possible. As we consider the future of our city, we must take into consideration the quality of life I and so many of our neighbors have grown to love. That is why folks are trying to move to Hendersonville. The quality of life is key. We are blessed with good weather, beautiful scenery, and of course, easy access to Old Hickory Lake. Our own COO moved to Hendersonville as a family-friendly environment. There you are. Escaping California. Welcome, Jesse. Today, we see the trend of high-density multifamily development creeping its way into our community. This habit of cities desperately seeking a cheap and easy solution to redevelop often forgotten or ignored pockets has been knocking on our door. The planners say every development must include multifamily high-density housing to make it possible and profitable. The grand scale to which they want to change the face of the neighborhood may require that, but they're only doing what developers and planners do. They try to maximize profits and minimize efforts. But we, citizens, hold all the cards. I oppose more high-density multifamily housing developments as they lead to further stresses on an already taxed infrastructure. More housing creates more traffic, more pollution, more wastewater issues, more, and more. I believe that multifamily high-density housing will not improve, but dilute our current quality of life we enjoy. As an alderman, I will work with the members of BOMA to protect mine and my neighbors' quality of life. It is our job as citizens to keep our government in check in every aspect. Thank you, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. So, Robert Cox.
I can't say ditto, right? Okay. Honorable Mayor, Aldermen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to have the opportunity to be selected as Alderman for our beautiful city. I have over 12 years experience in managerial in different aspects, and I've also worked for the city of Hendersonville for over 5 years. Working for the city, I've experienced firsthand a lot of the concerns we have facing along with many of the milestones that we've achieved in the city. I believe I am one of the very few that have walked every road in this town, been down every sidewalk, been in the ditches, waterways of our city. Excuse me, guys. If selected as alderman, I will do the very best to my ability, what is best for our city. Also, in conclusion, I've done a lot of volunteer work for our city, including the bridge decorating, working on the board of beautiful Hendersonville, and 8 years as a football coach for our city. So, thank you very much. Keeping it short and sweet.
Robert, thank you. Eric.
Thank you, BOMA, Mayor, and residents for the time I'm coming up here to speak. You preach every Sunday. You never get nervous. You come before BOMA, and all of a sudden you start sweating. What is going on here? I'm I'm just kind of going to stick to the script as well and echo a few of the things that they've mentioned here before. Why I'm running for alderman, why I ran for alderman. I did run for alderman and fortunately got to run with a friend of mine, Eric Schiller. We went to school together and very close race and 152 vote difference, and he ended up winning. And I told him I was very happy. I knew he would be a great alderman. I said, I've got my alderman's cell phone number and I'll call you anytime I need to. And then lo and behold, he moves on to the county law director. So here we are. I'm running for alderman because it's my way of serving the great city of Hendersonville. I grew up here. Today, as I was going back home, I started thinking about, what in the world are you going to say that can be any different or show that, you might be a good alderman for Ward 1. And as I was driving past, you were mentioning the bridge there and the parks. And as I was sitting there at the red light, I was looking over at Memorial Park and I started thinking back. I used to play football over there before we even had Drakes Creek North. I played football and baseball. And then we moved on to the north and we got a great park system that's going on now. And I just began to think about all the time that I've spent here in Hendersonville. And I've seen all the changes, the ones that have been great for the city and the ones that people don't think are so great. And I've lived through all of it. Been living out on the peninsula for 40 years of my 52 years. So I'll just sort of follow through this a little bit. I was born in Baptist Hospital in 1970. My dad moved here, my mom. We moved down the peninsula. My dad was the band teacher for the old Hawkins Junior High School for 9 years and went on into music business. And I lived out there until 1988. I went into the military in the Navy, and I came back from there in 1992 and started going to school at Vol State and met my beautiful wife and we started to raise a family here. I worked at UPS as a supervisor. I'm just sort of going through some of the things here that would also show that I would have experience to work with BOMA. I was a supervisor there, over 40 employees, responsible for all the air traffic leaving, hazardous air material leaving Nashville. Worked for Ernst & Young. As they were mentioning some of those auditing things, I was just shaking my head. Yeah, I've heard that language before. I worked for them for 2 years as an auditor. So I have knowledge of accounting, knowledge of the statements, policies, organizations, all those things. Then I worked for Vanderbilt University Medical Center as a senior accountant there and worked with closed out multi-million-dollar federal state grants, contracts, clinical trials, did budgets for the School of Medicine, worked with the dean of the School of Medicine. So I have experience with all those, all the financial issues and all that. And then I left Vanderbilt University Medical Center in 2007 and went into full-time ministry, just hauled me and my 4 kids out there and my wife, and been pastoring for 15 years now and was able to come back to Hendersonville. In 2015, I've been pastoring there ever since. And I'm also a chaplain at the Legacy Assisted Living Center. I've been a chaplain there for a year. And as far as my engagement into the community, those are some of the professional things, but as my engagement in the community, about 3 years ago, we started something called Sumner County Missions. And the Lord put it on my heart to start a food bank here. And I really just didn't understand how all that would all work. But God really took that thing and did something with it. And so now we feed about 1,000 people a month through that ministry right there. And that is sort of my engagement with all the people that come through the line. And you see the needs of the community, and they're not really what you think they all would be. So I ran because I wanted to serve my community. And I wanted to protect the residents of Ward 1 and be a great representative for them. And as they mentioned, talking about all the streets, one in Lakeside Park, you were not too far from my house. I might have even seen you going by sometime on the bike out there. But I've lived out there 40 years, and so I know a lot of the people, and it was very interesting and eye-opening to run for alderman, and I appreciated my time, and I appreciate your time, and I hope you'll consider me for alderman for Ward 1.
Eric, thank you. So the way the law reads on this is that to appoint an alderman, that person has to receive the majority of the remaining votes on the board. So even though Alderman Robertson's not here, he counts. We have 12 members of the board right now, so the majority of that is going to be 7. And so we have the possibility of having multiple ballots if that's the case. I'll give you my opinion of these 3 folks real quick. We can't go wrong. Mr. Cox is the only person who's worked for the city of the 3 and picked up trash with me a couple weekends ago. Mark Bergdorf is the only person that rode the bus with me in elementary school and has been serving on a couple city committees for a long time. And then we have Eric. Eric ran for office, and that's very important to me. And he's been involved in a church here and been involved in the community for a long time. We can't go wrong. And I don't tell you those things to lobby, but tell you those things just to tell you that I think you can make a good decision regardless of who you choose. So any other discussion? Okay, Alderman Garza.
Yeah, I just want to bring something to the attention of the people that weren't here and those that are still here. So at our last BOMA meeting, we elected a new alderman for Ward 3. That's Jeff Sassy next to me here. And despite numerous emails to BOMA and from the people of Ward 3, the board still voted to elect Jeff Sassy. And as I mentioned, Jeff ran a great race, and he put in his time and his energy into that race. With that reasoning, it would make today's vote for Ward 1 easy, especially for me. Eric Jackson ran a great race and lost by only a few votes, with 49% of the people of Ward 1 supporting him. Common sense and reasoning should make it easy for tonight's BOMA vote. As aldermen, we are here as a voice for the people in our wards. We're setting a dangerous precedent to vote for any special interests.
Alderman Garza, thank you. Any other discussion? So what I'm going to ask Annette to do is I'm going to ask Annette to call the roll, and you have three choices: Bergdorf, Cox, or Jackson. I need you to say one of those three. If you abstain, we may come back to you and ask you if you still want to abstain. So your choices are Bergdorf, Cox, or Jackson. If nobody receives 7, then we will remove the person who had the fewest, and then we'll vote again. If nobody receives 7, we'll continue until somebody receives 7. State law says that it has to be a majority of the remaining members of this board. So Bergdorf, Cox, or Jackson? Annette, you ready? Okay.
Collins. Dixon. Garton. Garza.
Jackson.
Goodwin. Martin. Peterson. Robertson. Sassy.
Bergdorf.
Skidmore. Waters. Clary.
Jackson. Okay. So we have 8 for Bergdorf and 3 for Jackson. So Mark Bergdorf is going to be our alderman. Mark, we have a question for you. Would you want to be sworn in right now, after the meeting, or sometime in the next couple weeks? Okay, so I set up here the oath. I hope it's still up there unless somebody walked away with it. So do it right now. Who do you want to bring with you? Who do you want to bring with you? Just you? Okay.
The city. Everybody.
Yeah, he said he would be.
Sort of prepared. You go get your Bible? Thank you.
You have a book that looks like a Bible? Bible.
When I say state your name.
State your name.
Yes. You say Mark Bergdorf. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
All right.
There we go. Thank you. Okay. So left hand there.
Left hand.
Yep. Okay. Raise your right hand.
Right.
I state your name.
Mark Bergdorf.
Do hereby swear
Do hereby swear
that I have all the qualifications
that I have all the qualifications
for the office of alderman
for the office of alderman
of the ward to which I was appointed
to the ward to which I was appointed
under the mayor aldermanic government
under the mayor aldermanic government
for the city of Hendersonville,
for the city of Hendersonville,
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
And I do solemnly swear
And I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the state of Tennessee,
the state of Tennessee,
the mayor aldermanic charter,
the mayor aldermanic charter,
and the laws and duly enacted ordinances
and the laws and duly enacted ordinances
of the city of Hendersonville,
of the city of Hendersonville,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of this office.
the duties of this office.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Thank you. Good to have you. You want to hang out up here? I do. So get to vote now. Thank you. So Mark, we will get this. You'll have to sign this. I will have to sign this. We'll get this to you. Okay. 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 So next on the agenda is a discussion of committee assignments. The people who were elected in November, you have moved up 2 rungs on the seniority ladder. Opportunity, and actually we have the opportunity any board meeting for people to request that they be moved to another committee. But right now we have 2 openings, and we have openings on the, let's see, we have openings on the Finance Committee, we have opening on the Public Safety Committee. And I think in your packet is how the Committee on Committee considers, the Committee on Committees considers the criteria for filling those positions. We don't have a Committee on Committees because that by default, no longer exists after we have our first Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. So Alderman Garten. Oh, hold on. Oh, sorry. There we go. Now you're on. Okay.
I would like to join the Public Safety Committee.
Okay. So you would like to join the Public Safety Committee. If anybody else would, we're going to have an election. Otherwise, we can decide that she can join the Public Safety Committee, and then we would have to fill a position on 2 positions on the Finance Committee. Would anybody else wish to join the Public Safety Committee? Okay, so, okay, Alderman Garza.
I'd like to join that committee also.
Okay, so we have 1 position, so we're going to have election for that one. I'll do the same thing, is let each of y'all speak a little bit, and then we can have some discussion on that. And we're going to do the same thing to fill the other committee positions that are now open. Would anybody else like to fill that open position on the Public Safety Committee? Okay, so let's go. This is a hard one. Garten comes just barely before Garza. So
We sat behind each other in class.
okay, yeah. so Alderman Garten, you want to speak first? Go ahead.
Yes. So my first choice was public safety because I actually grew up in the home with a law enforcement officer. I have enjoyed going through the Hendersonville Citizens Police Academy. And my daughter is a lieutenant with the Hendersonville Police Explorers Club. I have a passion for the police department, and I would also like to work more with the fire department.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Garten. Alderman Garza.
Well, I don't have that that heritage, but every year Ward 3 in my neighborhood does a support for the Santa Cop, and I've got to know many of the police officers and firemen, and also want to get more involved just through that procedure.
Any other discussion? Okay, so Annetta's going to call the roll, and this is to fill the open position in public safety. Your 2 choices are Garten or Garza, and please enunciate those pretty well. No, we don't in this situation. So yeah, let's just make sure. Both of these have been nominated. That does not require a second, so they're both in good shape. So okay, go ahead. So Garten or Garza for public safety.
Are you going to be the nominee?
Yeah.
Okay. Collins,
Garza.
Dixon,
Garten.
Garten,
Garten,
Garza,
Garza.
Goodwin,
Garten.
Martin,
Garten.
Peterson,
Garten.
Robertson, Sassy,
Garten.
Skidmore,
Garten.
Waters,
Garten.
Bergdorf,
Garten.
and Clary.
Garten.
Okay, so that's 9, 7, 8, 9, 10. Excuse me. How's that 10?
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Should be
10.
12 total.
Oh, okay, yeah, so it's 10.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I
that's
vote by
right.
10-2. Alderman Garten is going to go to the Public Safety Committee. We now have 2 positions open on the Finance Committee, and we have Alderman Sassy serving in the Finance Committee right now by default because he replaced somebody who's on the Finance Committee. And then we have Alderman Bergdorf, who does not have an assignment right now. So does anybody else want to take one of those positions in the Finance Committee, or should we have Alderman Sassy and Alderman Jackson do that? Alderman
Bergdorf, not Jackson.
Oh, Bergdorf, I'm sorry. Alderman Bergdorf and Alderman Sassy serve as the 2 other committee members in finance. Does anybody else want those positions? That's a bad way to put it, isn't it?
It is.
That's right. Okay.
like to ask the chairman, find out, can she work with either one of them?
I can absolutely work with both of those.
Okay.
May
So,
regret that.
okay. Okay. So, let's have a motion to appoint Alderman Bergdorf and Alderman Sassy
I'll make
to,
a motion.
okay, to the Finance Committee.
To appoint
Okay.
those two to the finance.
Okay, that's from Alderman Goodwin.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a second from Alderman Garza. This is for Alderman Bergdorf and Alderman Sassy to serve on the Finance Committee. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Okay, that passed unanimously. Now we have to look on the next page. We have positions open for the Deer Herd Monitoring Committee and the Industrial Development Board. We have those two positions open for the liaison appointments to citizen committees. We have two new aldermen. Alderman Sassy and Alderman Bergdorf are the two new aldermen. I'm going to turn to Alderman Sassy because he's been here for 2 weeks longer. Which would you prefer?
Feeling old here.
Okay. Industrial Development Board or Deer Herd Monitoring Committee? If you want to look down the table and ask Alderman Bergdorf his feelings on that, that is quite okay.
Yeah. What do you want to do? You have a preference?
Yes, Deer Board.
Okay, then I want deer, I'm kidding.
No.
I'll do industrial then.
Okay, so if I heard that right, Alderman Bergdorf, you'd like to be on the Deer Herd Monitoring Committee. Alderman Sassy, you would like to be on the Industrial Development Committee. Okay, and again, these are liaison appointments. You don't have votes, but we do expect you to be there and report back to us. Okay, so let's take a motion from Alderman Sassy and a second from Alderman Bergdorf that Alderman Sassy serve as liaison to the Industrial Development Board. Alderman Bergdorf serve as liaison on the Deer Herd Monitoring Committee. We have a motion and a second. Do you guys agree with that?
So moved.
Okay. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of appointing Alderman Sassy to the Industrial Development Board as liaison and Alderman Bergdorf to the Deer Herd Monitoring Committee as liaison, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Wow, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. But still difficult. Thank you all for that. Okay. Brief committee reports. Chairman Dixon, Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. The Finance Committee met tonight, and the next time we meet, we'll have a whole new board committee. Feeling a little weird about that, but that's okay. So we had one ordinance and one resolution that we voted on tonight. The reading of ordinance 2023-03 and ordinance amending or ordinance of 2211 to reflect our mid-year adjustments to the city's budget. So we had a discussion on a summary of where we are with the budget, proposed draft budget changes that we're going to have a special call budget workshop on February 6th to discuss that as we voted to move that to BOMA. So that special call budget workshop will include all of BOMA. Then we had a resolution, 2023-04, resolution to adopt an investment policy for the city of Hendersonville. This is almost 2 years coming. We reviewed that resolution with Mr. Eckenroth, and we voted to move that forward once we get some advisement back from MTAS. They're reviewing it now. We expect there should be some advisement back. We also had a really high-level craft CPAs that also reviewed the annual comprehensive financial report to us. We also reviewed sales tax, which is continuing to look great. Last 2 months, we've been 13% over the last year's 2 months. It's wonderful. We're projected to be 2.2 over budget. And that's my report.
I appreciate that, Chairman Dixon. There we go. Okay, Public Works Committee report. Chairman Seymour.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things, 2 items, or 3 items actually. I do want to thank the candidates from Ward 1 who declared themselves. Not only did we have some that came forward tonight, really remarkable people, and I'm proud of every one of them. And then also we had one that decided, I don't know really whether what his status was, but Brad McKenzie had inquired about it too, and I do want to let the board know about that one as well, but he did not file his stuff in. Fine man, he ran probably about 8 years ago for alderman at that time. So I do want to thank you all for that. Now on to the Public Works report. We do have two items. One is tonight, I'm going to ask Sarah Locke, our Public Works Director, to give us, as a whole board, information on the Saundersville Road, or the Exit 8 dilemma that we are, well, it's not a dilemma, it's just information that it's important to not only our side of Hendersonville, this peninsula, but also in Wards 5, that affects that side of town, but it's a very informative presentation you will see. And then the other thing is on our light, and finally, if you need to come forward, because I just want to say, on our light synchronization program, we want to let you know that in February, we're going to be having the contract phase, and what that means is they're going to be meeting with the city of Hendersonville and Public Works to have a plan of action on what the results or what it entails going forward with that, the synchronization program that affects every red light in the city of Hendersonville. So Sarah, if you could go ahead with the Exit 8 program, I sure would appreciate it.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll just jump right in. Are we ready to go? Okay. So for a project overview, and those of you up there with your fancy new screens, you can probably see this a little bit better. But this is the design of the project currently. So you see Exit 8 there at the top on East Main Street and Saundersville Road. And then you see the connector come down, and it will tunnel underneath of the railroad to then connect to East Main Street, and there will be a signalized intersection at that location. And this is a rendering of the tunnel, which is pretty attractive. We have a little bit of a history. So this project was required as a part of an approval for Saundersville realignment over a decade ago by TDOT. And so we hadn't gotten to a design. And so in 2009, TDOT re-solidified that requirement. They were especially concerned about queues on the Exit 8 backing into State Road 386. And then in 2015, they required a status update, and then again highlighted those negative impacts caused by the queuing. And so at that time, we began and we initiated the project through TDOT and sought for consultants. And in 2016, we selected the design consultants AECOM for this project. So our project estimates and funding. In 2015, when we initiated, this was a very preliminary estimate. It was prior to environmental, prior to CSX coordination, and prior to design. The total project cost was estimated at $5 million. And also at that time, you can possibly see below, the state awarded some LIC, which is state funding for this project, in the amount of $4 million, which is typically their max for that. And that has a 50-50 split. So the state would cover 50% of that $4 million. And then we had a preliminary engineering estimate in 2019, just before nearing right-of-way phase. So it's an intermediate estimate. We had identified some streams, some CSX requirements were made more clear. We had a more refined project scope. And at that time, for right-of-way and construction, the estimate came in at nearly $16 million. And then in 2022, the end of 2022, we received an updated estimate. This is not final, but it is more mature based on inflation, and then a more refined project scope. And the combination for right-of-way and construction is approximately $28 million. And then there were some assumed inflation rates, which we hope are very conservative, but you can see that cost would continue to increase annually with inflation. So we have applied for 4 grants in the past. In 2015, we had applied for a $1 million grant. In 2019, we applied for build for $16 million. In 2020, we applied for Build and Chrissy for $16 million and then $12 million for the Chrissy. We were not successful in any of those applications. Essentially, we're not very competitive in a lot of the criteria for those ranking when you look at it on a national scale. And so we've identified just our options to consider. We fund the project locally at 100%. We fund the project through financing. We seek cooperative funding from the county and state. Consider alternatives to the current project or cancel the project, which the last option would put us in a poor standing with TDOT since we have signed a contract. So we were asked to consider some options. I'm sorry. We go to our current funding status where we are. So I mentioned we have the $4 million LAC grant funds from TDOT at a 50-50 split. We also have fiscal year 23, we have a city budget amount of $2.4 million for this project. And we are in the right-of-way phase now, and we're at a juncture where we would either begin purchasing right-of-way or reassess. And most people will not be able to see this, but you might be able to up there, and I can send you the information if you need it, if you'd like to review it, I mean. But these are the financing options. It assumed $20 million, assuming we would have some local funding already appropriated, and then those would be the terms and the cost of financing at those terms. So for project priorities and alternatives, identify the project priorities being safety, convenience, efficient flow of traffic, emergency services access. I think these are the major concerns I've heard from people, residents and aldermen alike. So our current project scope, I believe it fulfills all of those priorities and kind of meets the need. We have the traffic signal efficiency. Even though there is the separation from the connector, you do get some overlap in your traffic signal phasing, which may not mean a lot when I say it, but it does help to move traffic more efficiently. Also, there are some pedestrian movements at the Saundersville Road and connector signalized intersection with this project, and so those do further delay timing. And so if you have that connector coming straight in, and then you'll experience more delay on exit 8. And then we do have some favorable intersection offsets with this option, which also is just better to kind of spread out congestion and mitigate some of that frustration. We also do have undeveloped property for acquisition, as with most of the options that we have looked at, which is just important. It's not impacting businesses currently operating. So for safety considerations, I don't necessarily have alternatives specifically for that, but in 2022, TDOT's railroad grade crossing report no longer provided ranking of crossings they used to when we were in the top 10% with this location. But we were informally notified that this crossing is no longer in the top 10%. A few years ago, we did some coordinated timing through those signals over there, and I think that has made a little bit of an impact. We haven't seen the same queuing on 386, and we haven't had any severe collisions at the railroad crossing. And so when we assessed the 5-year crash history as well, we had 0 fatalities in the area, 3 injury collisions, 24 property damage collisions. Again, we had 0 collisions along State Route 386, resulting in exit 8 queues, and 0 collisions with the train. So alternative number 1 for convenience, something that was we were asked about previously, was a realignment of exit 8 to line up directly with a connector. And it was thought that would be a more direct access, and it is. And then also, that is undeveloped land for acquisition. Some of the concerns with this particular option are safety. it increases the likelihood for wrong-way traffic, which would be a concern. And then we do have the loss of signal timing efficiency. The grades for that connection would be very difficult to design for and potentially not viable. And there are multiple streams through that site at the north side of Saundersville Road, which could impact cost. Alternative number 2 was also a convenience option. The connector was relocated to the east side of where Winston Hill's location is. This would be a more direct access with, well, not more direct, I'm sorry, but a shorter connector, so thought to potentially be a cost savings. This also is undeveloped land for acquisition. Some of the concerns for this option are safety related. This option would concentrate the conflict. Avondale is just north of there, along with the other exit 8 ramp. So it would definitely, it could result in more conflict. The intersection spacing is not as favorable either on Saundersville Road or at East Main Street. The proximity to the embankment for the overpass is also not ideal, which would affect clear sight distance. There's some loss of signal efficiency with this option as well, and the grades would also be very difficult with a shorter connector. So some emergency services access alternatives we looked at. The first one is future construction of the east-west connector. This would actually be constructed by developers. So this would not have a cost impact to the city. This is a preliminary plan that was provided last year for the Baird, I believe it was Baird Farms, and that's that center portion there. But this would connect Anderson to Saundersville Road and would allow emergency services to access Saundersville Road much quicker in the event of a train. Alternative number 4 for emergency services access would be the construction of a new fire station with EMS north of CSX. An estimate with inflation based on last fire hall would be around $6.5 million plus the cost of land. And just for project location overview for some of the complications with identifying alternatives at this location or for this access in general is the availability of undeveloped property. That's one of the major considerations. Another is as you move to the east, you reach the city limits. And so we have no access there. Additionally, you'd have the same situation with the railroad on the east side, as well as there's no ramp right there. So that would also involve construction of another interchange. On the west side, I'm sorry, that was east side. On the west side, the long connector length is an issue. So the further you get from the Winston Hills connector location, the further the distance is from Saundersville Road to Main Street. So the more expensive this project would become. So those were all the alternatives that we were able to identify for this project. I'm ready for any questions or comments.
Alderman Waters.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Few questions. Number 1, and correct me if I'm wrong, no grants, right?
Just the $4 million in local interchange connector funds.
That's the 50%.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does this 28 million, does that include the property that we're gonna have to buy before this even starts? I mean,
Yes.
There's a lot of property out there that's gonna be affected.
That's correct.
So we got to buy that first.
Yes.
That doesn't include this.
It is included. It's an estimate. It's difficult to identify acquisition costs until we have appraisals.
It's not gonna be less, is it?
No.
I don't think so. So it's 100% on our back, right?
After the $4 million, it is currently.
We know about the 4 million.
Okay.
CSX says no, right?
That's correct.
Why? Did they give you a reason?
This location has not been identified as a high priority for them because we haven't had any collisions at this location. It has adequate advanced warning, the signage, pavement markings, the full suite of warning. So it's just not, it's not high on their priority list.
So we got to have a couple of fatalities out there before they recognize it, right?
Unfortunately, they do have to have, and grants in general, have to have some criteria on a national level to make selections. And that is part of the criteria.
Can you explain that the interest rate is going to hit us for the next, 3, 4, 5 years? Can you go over the interest rate?
That was just an estimate. It's hopefully very conservative, but we use 9%, 7%, and 5% over the next 3 years.
Over 3 years.
Yes,
That's
sir.
a 28 million.
The 28 million is the 2022 estimate.
Yeah, okay. I know Saundersville Road out there is growing by leaps and bounds. I can appreciate that. But I've been here for 44 years, and we've talked about it and talked about it. I think we're growing all over the city, everywhere, not just out there. And I see where they would want to talk about this out that way. But as I stood and watched the other morning out there at that intersection, I counted 87 vehicles that went coming out of the subdivisions over there, turning right, get on the 386. They didn't go down to this intersection at all. Have you considered doing a street survey or anything out there?
Yes, there have been multiple traffic studies done out
have?
there. Yes, sir. Yeah. The PM peak, all the people you see making a right currently, they're coming back the other direction in the afternoon.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but
Yeah.
it works morning and night both. We don't have a choice. Ooh, me.
Alder Waters, you asked a question I think I might be able to
Okay.
answer.
Okay, jump in.
Don't know why CSX doesn't want to contribute, but I flat out asked them if they would. We had a phone conversation with them about 6 weeks ago. A couple people with CSX on the phone. And I asked them how much they'd be willing to contribute. They said none. And I asked them if there's any way that they could reduce the cost that they are demanding of us via their specifications for what we do. They said they'd get back to me. I have sent 3 emails in the past 2 weeks to our contact at CSX. None of them have been returned. They said that they would look for ways to reduce the costs, but like I said, I haven't heard back from them. And I asked them to contribute, and they said no.
Said no.
Right.
Sarah, can you go back 2 or 3 slides? You was talking about contributions from somebody or somewhere. I don't remember where it was at. And I'm sorry to take up so much time, but this is major to me.
This slide? Seek cooperative
Yeah,
funding from the
corporate
county
funding
and
from the
state.
county. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that?
I think that would be probably more of a political discussion. Maybe the mayor would be
Sure.
Having those conversations.
Sure. So I had a conversation with a couple people on the county commission that feel like the county should consider contributing toward this because there are a lot of people that live in the county that use this and contribute to the congestion there. And I feel like those conversations are going well, that the county might contribute to this. Also, I've had a conversation with some of our state representatives and our state senator about the state contributing to this. And that seems to be moving positively. The problem we have is that we don't have what they consider a true estimate of what the cost is right now.
Yeah.
And so Representative Lamberth has had conversations with CSX that if they feel like the $28 million isn't a true estimate, then CSX needs to help us understand what is. And I've asked him if he would request money from the General Assembly for this project, and he said he would. We just need to come up with what our request is gonna be.
Okay,
Same thing with Senator Hill. He said that he would request money as well.
okay. I know we're just talking about it right now. It'll come before Bowman in a couple of months, reckon?
What's the next step?
Capital projects, we discussed
Mhm.
pausing while we sought
Okay.
additional funding.
Yeah, so probably the next step is for CSX to give us what they consider as an honest estimate. Then us work for the state to secure funding, work with the county to secure funding. If those fall through, we know what the answer is. The answer is $28 million. But hopefully we can get that down to something a little bit more palatable for the city of Hendersonville.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Sarah.
Appreciate that.
Sir.
Any other questions for our Public Works Director? Alderman Collins.
I just want actually for our board to understand that unfortunately, while the grant issuers look at backup on the bypass and accidents related specifically to backup that occurs on the bypass and specifically accidents that are caused that occur on the railroad crossing, the traffic implications that are caused by those two, by the proximity that we have there. I'm not very good at how many miles stuff is, but I would say it's probably a 2-mile radius. It backs up Winston Hills neighborhood, Caudell, Bluegrass Drive, anybody in the Y, Stonecrest, Windcrest neighborhood, Avondale, all of these side streets that are impacted, and makes it very difficult to take a left when traffic's backed up a lot. And you have to go across the center turning lane. Everybody knows that that's problematic. A lot of rear-ending each other. When you go over the railroad tracks, you're going 15 miles an hour. That is not the death trap that we have. It's all of the surrounding congestion because of the way that this is currently configured that's truly the safety issue for our citizens. And this price tag is horrifically expensive for our city. I had a realization. People talk to me once in a while. Constituents will say, the state was willing to pay for 80% of this. Why are they not paying for 80% of it? It's because the original cost was $5 million and they gave us the grant for $4 million in LIC. That's where they're getting the 80%. I never realized that. So the traffic problem is far worse than it was when that occurred in 2015. And I think that really justifies them giving us additional money, Mayor. I know, I think you agree with me on that. They originally felt like 80% was reasonable, and the issues that have caused the delays have been, for the most part, outside of our control. Working with the railroad, it's not that they don't want to work with us, but it's a very, I don't even know what word to use to describe the process. We still haven't been able to pave Winston Hills Parkway because we don't have permission to pave up to the tracks. So, you know, I can understand why it has taken years for us to clear all of these obstacles, and the price has gone up. And I think it's very reasonable that the state and the county would help contribute to cover those costs.
Alderman Collins, thank you. Alderman Dixon. I'm sorry. Okay. Alderman Skidmore. I thought it was your committee. Sorry. Alderman Skidmore. Anything else?
No, nothing on the report, but my only question was this, and I mentioned this at Capital Projects Committee, just privately to some of the aldermen. But my only issue is we're getting ready, I'm not saying we're going to do it, but we're getting ready as a board to be, and as a city, we are getting ready to be asked to spend, I know everybody says it's 28 million, but I can guarantee you, as my experience will tell you, it's going to be every bit of $30 million. to spend on this project when we alone have had projects that affect wards 1, and this really bothers me
Get it.
because we've got red light problems and street problems that affect wards 1, ward 6, wards 2, that have had, and you all know which ones I'm talking about, and that's the red light at Walden Ferry Road and Old Shackle Island Road. That red light we have projected, we're gonna pay for this. We're gonna get it done. And it's been there for 15 years. And not a doggone thing has been done except we've given, and that includes me, we've given lip service to you guys on how we're gonna do it. And then all of a sudden, this comes up, this $30 million project comes up, and now that's on the board. I'm not saying that I oppose this project, but I do not like us having to be the ones that at 5 o'clock traffic in wards 1, 6, 2, have to sit there and wait for that red light, and the traffic backs up cleared from that point all the way to McDonald's on our side of town. That's wrong, people. That project should have been done a long time ago, and if we couldn't do it, then we should have came back and said, guess what, residents of Hendersonville, we don't have the money and we can't do it, but we certainly don't have $30 million to bankrupt the city for this project if we can't even do that project. And that's my only issue and my only problem with this whole thing going through. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Skidmore, thank you. Chairman Skidmore, appreciate that, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The mayoral report, I just want to mention that our next meeting is on Valentine's Day night. And not just to consider that for ourselves, but also for the staff. We have several staff here. It sort of was past me to have brought this up a couple weeks ago, which I should have done. But new Alderman Jeff Sassy, not the newest, but a new Alderman Jeff Sassy, he brought up the fact that our next meeting will be on Valentine's Day night. I'm not necessarily in favor of canceling it, but maybe postponing it. But if you want to make a motion to postpone it, you got to find a time when this room is available. Is there anybody who wants to discuss that or make a motion? Alderman Sassy.
Yeah, I'll also move on that.
Okay.
If we can find a time that works for everyone.
Okay, so we have a motion to reschedule, and he's leaving that open. Do we have a second? Okay, second from Alderman Waters. So I think the first thing we need to do is talk about, we cannot do it on the 7th. We cannot do it on the 6th. On the 6th, we already have a workshop. On the 7th, the Planning Commission will be in here. We can't do it on the 6th. We can't do it on the 6th. We have a workshop that will probably go hour 30, hour 45 minutes. 7th, the Planning Commission will be in here from 6:30? Okay, 6:30 to 8:30.
Mayor, I propose holding that meeting on February 2nd, which is 9 days from here.
February 2nd.
Which is a Thursday.
We have beer board. What time is it? Okay. What do you think that will do? Ooh. So what we're running into is we'd have to waive anything that went to a committee tonight for the 2-week rule. And I'm not saying that, I mean, that's not impossible. Jesse, you've got something on your mind? Okay.
Yeah, so the BOMA workshop is scheduled for the 6th, so we have to have 2 hearings for that mid-year amendment after that date. So we could do the 2nd, but then we'd have the BOMA workshop, and then we'd have to go into March before the mid-year ordinance was passed.
So we essentially be asking people to pass the mid-year budget amendment before we have the workshop on the mid-year budget.
Unless we pulled it back and we punted and waited a while.
So, okay, so I haven't forgotten you, Jeff. We might come back to that. So the 9th, also a Thursday, Annette?
Yes, it is.
I'm looking at staff. Nobody's jumping up and smiling. Think of anything? Maybe Thursday the 9th. More concerned about the two.
Mayor, I withdraw the second.
Okay, so we're withdrawing the second. Alderman Bergdorf, do you have something to say on this?
Yeah,
Hold on, you don't have a picture up here yet, so I have to figure out where you are. So, there you go.
lower right-hand corner.
Hey,
That's me.
okay.
Yeah. The 9th. What about the 9th? Anybody have a problem with the 9th?
Okay, let me look at staff, because when he says anybody having a problem with the knife, is that no a problem or no? Okay, Tamara, Jason, Jesse, Keith. I won't be here. Okay. Jesse.
Swim meet in Knoxville. I will not be here. But, you're welcome to be here in my stead.
I think we'll have Keith be here instead. So we can have a board meeting without Jesse here. It's just keep in mind that we're going to be talking about the mid-year budget amendment.
Yeah, he needs to be here. Okay.
Any other ideas? So I'm not even gonna turn on your microphone for that one. Alderman Dixon thinks I should buy dinner for everybody on the 14th. This is so.
Yeah, could
Could
we
we
do it
early
earlier?
on the 14th?
Do it early on the 14th? What do we have? We got 2 committees.
I mean, I've been married 40 years. I don't care about those.
35 here.
So, I'm sorry, Alderman Collins?
Does that inhibit public participation if we do it? Well, I mean, it depends on how early, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. We got Public Safety Committee at 5:15, and then General Committee at 6. Jesse, is that correct?
Yeah, maybe what we could do is do BOMA first and then do the committees afterwards. That's an option.
And that would free up at least 6 members of BOMA and
Right.
most of the staff.
Right.
Do we have time to advertise that? We just need 48 hours on that, don't we?
Yeah, it just has to be reasonable. So it would be very reasonable to advertise that.
Okay, so Public Safety Committee members, I'm not really sure who you are. General Committee members, what we're talking about doing is we would move BOMA to 5:15, and then we would move those committees to afterward. We could do the committees simultaneously, or we could postpone the committees. And then I'd let the committee chairman decide what to do at that point. We're talking about the 14th, is do the board meeting at 5? Okay,
Yes.
then what I'll do is, and this is the way I've been with committee meetings all along since I became mayor, the chairman determine whether the committee meets or whether they have special meetings, as long as it's in alignment with the ordinance is. So we schedule them where the ordinance says we schedule them. If the chairman wants to cancel those, or there's not a quorum, then we don't have them. If the chairman wants to schedule a special meeting, then they can do that. I don't schedule those meetings, I don't determine what's on the agenda. So if the chairman of General Committee, Alderman Peterson, and the chairman of Public Safety, Alderman Goodwin, y'all determine what you want to do with your committee meeting on the 14th, and it sounds like BOMA will meet at, I don't honestly prefer 5:30. For exactly what Alderman Collins said, gives people the opportunity to participate and to be here. I'm not seeing anybody jump up and down and shake their heads. Let me look at staff again.
Yes.
14th
And
board meeting at
we can
5:30.
talk after. There's a chance I'm gonna be out of town. again.
Jesse, you okay with that?
No,
Any
just
reason
not
that-
yet.
And the 13th wouldn't work for everybody anyway.
13th?
That's what
What's wrong with
somebody
13th?
said.
I thought
What's-
she said there was an industrial development.
What's wrong with 13th? No, the 6th we had a problem. 13th is not as much a problem. Alderman Goodwin.
It doesn't matter to me, but I'm thinking if people wanted Valentine's, I mean, I've been married 40 years, I don't.
But the
How do y'all,
staff-
13th?
I'm good with 13.
I got some ambiguous nods right there. Alderman Sassy, would you like to fill in the blank that we have our board meeting on the 13th instead of the 14th? Okay, so who made the second on that? Annette? Waters, would you like to second the motion that we have our board meeting on the 13th instead of the 14th? We will keep and he says, agrees to change the second. We will keep the committee meetings scheduled on the 14th unless the chairman want to move those. And it's up to the chairman when you want to move those. I suggest you get with your committee members before you make that decision. What do you got?
Will that be at 7 o'clock, same time, on the 13th?
We don't have any committee meetings.
That's what I was going to ask. What time?
Just keep it constant, the time.
Okay. Do y'all want to go earlier? I'm here anyway. It's really up to y'all.
I'm good with going earlier.
6? 5:30?
5:36.
6 o'clock, we'll make a decision.
Okay. So Alderman Sassy, 6 o'clock on the 13th?
Sounds good.
Alderman Waters, do you second that?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock on the 13th? Or not? No? You would prefer what?
5:30. How about at lunchtime?
So, 30? Okay.
Yeah,
So,
good with 5:30.
okay, so here's what we have. We have a motion to move the meeting on the 14th, our board meeting on the 14th to 5:30 on the 13th. Okay, the motion is from Alderman Sassy and Alderman Waters. Alderman Martin, I saw a face of displeasure. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'll try to get here.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? I have everybody's light lit up right now. Any other discussion? Okay. So the motion in a second is that we move the meeting on the 14th for the board to the 13th at 5:30, I believe. Okay. And the committee chairman, it will be up to them what they want to do with their meeting on the 14th. If they don't say anything to me and the staff, then we will keep that meeting scheduled and we will provide the staff for that night. Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, say no. Thank y'all. Our Chief of Operations report, Jesse.
Thank you. Congratulations, Alderman Bergdorf. Look forward to working with you. So congratulations. And I wanted to thank Sarah Locke for putting that presentation together on Exit 8. It's a lot of work. So one of our goals as staff is to keep you as informed as possible. So when there's these decisions to make, you have real-time information in front of you. So if there's other issues that are coming up that you would like presentations on or information, please don't hesitate to let us know. Great report on that CAFR tonight. I will send everyone an electronic copy as well. If you didn't get a bound copy, please let me know. But very good reports, gotten better since last year and even better since the year before. I will send everyone an email on some emergency purchases that we've recently had to make due to that Arctic blast winter freeze on several of our properties. They're covered by insurance, but we pulled some emergency POs, and part of that process is we got approval from the mayor, but we have to notify the board. So I will be sending an email out to everyone with some details on that tomorrow. We held some interviews for finance director, so we're still working through those. But that's ongoing, so we have not made a selection yet. But so if you guys know anyone, we've have multiple websites that we're posting that position. Luckily, we've had Tamara Ingersoll, our assistant finance director, who stepped up to the plate. So I wanted to introduce Tamara. She's going to get up here and just introduce herself really quick.
Good evening. I'm Tamara Ingersoll. I am really happy to be here. I've now been here for 5 weeks. It's gone really fast. I come from a county in California. I was there for almost 20 years, doing a whole variety of things, mostly in the fiscal and administrative realm. And so I'm really glad to be here and working for the city. And it's been great so far. Thank you.
Tamara.
Do you want me to? One more? Is that good?
Assistant finance director. So Tamara's been doing an awesome job.
She is, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't look for people just from California. They just seem to apply to our city all the time.
And like Jesse. Like Jesse did.
Yeah, so I sent Tamara some things where I'm like, Tamara's really not going to be able to answer this yet because she's so new. And 10 minutes later, I get an email back with an answer to my question already. So it's been a very positive having Tamara here. So thank you very much. And then one last thank you to Casey. We have some awesome graphics up here. When you have a PIO on board, all of a sudden these new fancy things start popping up. And our IT department for getting screens for everyone, so that we can, when we do presentations, it's just you guys have better visual in front of you. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Jesse, real quickly, why do we need an investment policy?
Because we need to leverage any opportunity we have to earn money. So we have idle cash sitting around. We don't have a mechanism to invest those funds in bonds, or the state has a liquid pool. It's earning over 3% right now. As we've heard tonight, our financial standing is in a much better position. So we have cash that is sitting in a very low interest-bearing savings account. So I'd like to add a line item to revenue that says interest earnings. So on a go forward, we can have that every year. So I appreciate the Finance Committee looking at that policy this evening. And hopefully we get that on board and we start making some money on our money.
Alderman Sassy, do you have a question?
Well, for our meeting on the 13th, I just wanted to nominate Bob and Kat to bring Valentine's cookies.
Okay. Jesse, thank you. We have a couple items that we will consider next time that are just for information on our agenda right now. Alderman Bergdorf, would you like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. Alderman Sassy, would you like to second that? All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no.